Ladies and gentlemen, I explain all of this actually in Debunking the Trump-Russia Myth. I wrote that in 2017, and almost everything I've said has taken place. Joseph Mifsud, the man who claimed that he had dirt on Clinton, the alleged link between Putin and the Trump campaign, is a Maltese professor that has greater ties to Western intelligence and possibly also the State Department than he does to any type of Kremlin or Putin link. He doesn't possess any link to Russia. He never was an intermediary between a foreign power and the Trump campaign. That never, ever happened. Yet, an investigation was started into Trump's campaign because this guy, Joseph Mifsud, allegedly told George Papadopoulos, a Trump campaign advisor, that he had dirt on Clinton, and that dirt was derived from Russian sources. Nobody ever verified that. That is complete and utter gossip, hearsay. And not only was it unverified like the Steele dossier, which was purchased by Clinton, not only was the U.S. government relying on the assessment or analysis of a third party like CrowdStrike looking at the DNC servers, saying, oh, trust us, we'll give you pristine copies. We're outsourced by the Democratic Party. What could go wrong? There's no conflict of interest here. But this man, Joseph Mifsud, has never he was actually seen at the State Department. He spoke to FBI agents in early 2017. He backtracked his story and said, no, I never told Papadopoulos that I had dirt on Clinton. So the basis of the Russia probe, this guy's alleged conversation with Papadopoulos, the basis for everything was backtracked. He stated that never happened, and it was just a benign business encounter between George Papadopoulos and Joseph Mifsud. But what took place was Alexander Downer, an Australian diplomat with ties to the Clinton Foundation, just like Fusion GPS was outsourced by Clinton's campaign, and just like CrowdStrike was outsourced by the Democratic Party. So you have the three of the most important pieces of quote-unquote evidence used to begin all of this, used to obtain FISA warrants, used to surveil everyone within Trump's campaign, is linked to Clinton, and I explained that in my Federalist article below, in the pinned comment. Not only do you have that, but you have Alexander Downer, the Australian diplomat with ties to the Clinton Foundation, telling the FBI that he had a conversation with Papadopoulos at a London bar, and during this conversation, Joseph Mifsud tells him that he had dirt on Clinton, and the dirt was from Russia, and it was about the DNC and the emails and the hacking of the DNC. None of this took place. And yet, now we're finding out that William Barr and John Durham, this is a Washington Examiner article, Durham and Barr obtained deposition of Clinton dirt tipster Joseph Mifsud. U.S. attorneys John Durham and Lindsey Graham, leading separate inquiries into the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation, have obtained an audio deposition of Joseph Mifsud, the mysterious Maltese academic who claimed Russia had dirt on Hillary Clinton. He backtracked this. So the interesting thing here is that the Mueller team never interviewed Mifsud, and they never interviewed Natalia Veselnitskaya. So just recap. You have two alleged links to Putin, the Kremlin, and Russia. Two alleged links. Joseph Mifsud, who is the guy who allegedly gave George Papadopoulos, the Trump advisor, a whole bunch of information from Russia. And you have Natalia Veselnitskaya, who was supposed to have given Trump Jr. Clinton's deleted emails. And she's a Russian lawyer who was allowed into the country with a special visa by Loretta Lynch, and who met before the Trump Jr. meeting and after the Trump Jr. meeting with Glenn Simpson. That is according to The Hill and according to Fox News. Mueller then says, well, I don't know who Glenn Simpson is or Fusion GPS is. And so that is a huge problem. Because if you don't know the firm that's hired by Hillary Clinton, then you don't understand why there's conflicts of interest with the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton through money funneled through a law firm, funneled through a law firm that was utilized to outsource Fusion GPS, which then contracted. Glenn Simpson is the founder of Fusion GPS. And he worked with Natalia Veselnitskaya on other issues aside from the Trump Jr. meeting. So it's so convoluted, okay? But it's easy to basically uncover. They set up and framed Trump with a whole bunch of nonsense. This nonsense, what they did and what they continue to do is they fall back on incompetence. They explain incompetence by saying, well, we were trying our best. But there's no way they were trying their best because if the tables were reversed, Democrats would never stand for any of this. The revelations about Mifsud came from The Hill's John Solomon. Solomon's widely reported report is that the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz had criminally referred former FBI James Comey to the DOJ because his alleged leaking of classified information in his memos and a lack of candor with investigators, but DOJ declined prosecution. So Horowitz, it's actually a very good thing that Horowitz recommended prosecution for James Comey. So when people say, well, nothing was... There was nothing illegal about the probe. No, the genesis of the probe was James Comey leaking classified documents, which is a crime. The fact that he's not prosecuted under the crime doesn't mean a crime didn't occur. But this tidbit about Mifsud made a few headlines. Special counsel Robert Mueller's 448 pages released. Stated Mifsud traveled to Moscow in April 2016 after he met with George Papadopoulos in London. That is completely irrelevant, but to Democrats, it's a big thing. So why didn't Mueller actually interview Mifsud? He didn't, but let's continue. Mueller's report said that during his meeting, Mifsud informed Papadopoulos he learned the Russians had dirt on Clinton in the form of thousands of emails. Papadopoulos later repeated this claim to Australian diplomat Alexander Downer. How do we know this? How on earth do we know this, especially since Mifsud backtracked that conversation, who informed the U.S. government and prompted the original counterintelligence investigation into Trump's campaign in 2016. Why would you start an investigation based on an allegation of somebody tied directly to Hillary Clinton? Why? Who's running again? Yes. I know. She would never do it. It's going to be Beto O'Rourke, mi nombre es Beto, or Warren, or Joe Biden, who got 1% in Iowa in 08. They have nobody. Willie Brown said nobody there could win. Former mayor of San Francisco, Greta Van Susteren, now is saying she can imagine Clinton entering the race. Steve Bannon is saying Clinton's going to enter the race. I've been telling you since 2017. And Clinton hasn't closed the door on it. So then why do you think she hasn't closed the door on it? Why do you think she stated she wanted to become president? Anyway, it's pretty good. I waited until 9 minutes or so. Mifsud's attorney said in late July that Durham intended to interview Mifsud. He said that if an interview failed to pan out, Durham's team at least wanted to view a recorded deposition Mifsud gave in 2018 on his role in the Trump-Russia controversy. Solomon told Hannity that Durham's team obtained an audio deposition of Joseph Mifsud where he describes his work, why he targeted Papadopoulos, who directed him to do that, and what directions he was given, and why why he set the entire process of introducing George Papadopoulos to Russia in motion in March of 2016. So this is very interesting. Solomon called the meeting between Papadopoulos and Mifsud really the flashpoint, the starting point of the whole Russia collusion narrative. Why isn't this guy Mifsud in Congress? Why don't Democrats want him there? Because he's not only the guy who started everything, but he is the weakest link, which shows you why none of this should have been started. The entire Russia investigation into Trump began because of hearsay and gossip. And Solomon said Graham has also obtained the same deposition. So you know how the Senate and federal prosecutor, Solomon said. Mifsud has denied that he told Papadopoulos the Russians had Clinton's emails. And Rowe claims that his client has cooperated with Western intelligence, not Russian intelligence, aligning with that GOP investigators such as Representative Devin Nunes have said. Aligning with what, GOP? So he doesn't even have he wasn't even working, or he doesn't have any working relationship. He never had a working relationship with Russian intelligence. In 2016, it was Western intelligence. Somebody told him to set up and frame Papadopoulos. Mueller's report only went so far to say that Mifsud had connections to Russia. That is nonsense. That is nonsense. He wasn't a Russian agent. Guess what? Because he wasn't charged as one. Neither was Natalia Veselnitskaya. And nobody was charged as a co-conspirator. The evidence was not sufficient for criminal charges against anyone in the Trump administration. Yet they continue to foment the belief that Trump worked with Russia to undermine Clinton, maintain various Russian contacts, including a former employee of the Internet Russian Agency. Oh my goodness. So Mueller's report is a bunch of nonsense. When people cite the report, it basically be like citing the Steele dossier. The Mueller's report, is a summary of the ODNI and DHS reports and news clippings. And the ODNI, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, and Department of Homeland Security reports have warranty disclaimers where they say, yeah, Russia infiltrated the DNC. We don't really know. We're confident. We can't tell you with certainty. The investigation of the investigators being led by Barr and Durham is ongoing as well. By the way, check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. Very important segment. I located this time also within Marianne Williamson's Evil Lubgoblin, Balls of Sinister Goodness. You'll know what I mean when you watch. Horowitz's leak inquiry into Comey was just a narrow slice of a broader investigation that he launched in March. So they now have a deposition that says that he had nothing to do with Russian intelligence. Yet the Mueller report and the FISA application and the entire basis of why they began, because they keep on saying, well, it didn't start with the Steele dossier. It started with Joseph Mifsud. Well, if it started with Joseph Mifsud, where is the evidence that Mifsud was a link to the Kremlin? Where is the evidence that he told Papadopoulos anything salacious or anything incriminating? And where is the evidence that the FBI should have trusted Alexander Downer to begin with? Okay, there have been these types of tips regarding the Clinton Foundation. William D. Campbell is one person who testified before Congress, yet nobody began an investigation based on his testimony, or maybe they did, but it certainly wasn't an ongoing investigation like the one we saw. I mean, an overarching investigation complete with a special counsel. Clinton's running again because she purchased her own special counsel for 2 years, and she's warped. Look, the media and Democratic Party have warped the minds of Democrats who ordinarily would be tired of their own political party. But they're on Twitter, and the only people getting themselves into a frenzy are disgruntled, disgruntled Democrats who think they should have won, who needed some kind of crutch. They couldn't fall back on the reality. The reality is they cheated Bernie Sanders. They were caught in the act. The DNC and campaign emails actually gave America a window into the most corrupt political party, one of the most corrupt political parties America has ever seen, if not the most corrupt. They actually engaged in a primary that was completely rigged. Okay? Debbie Wasserman Schultz is forced to resign for a reason. They tried to install Clinton, but they didn't realize that at that moment in time, Bernie Sanders went from complete unknown to tied in the polls. You don't go from complete unknown to tied in the polls with a political machine, unless you have the momentum to win a primary that was fair. He would have won the primary. He would have won the presidency if the Democrats rallied around him. Thank God Trump won. We would not have had the beginning of peace between North and South Korea. We would not have had record low unemployment. And we would not have had Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan under a criminal probe by John Durham. We wouldn't have had a lot of other things as well. Okay? So, give me your thoughts below. The Joseph Mifsud issue is very interesting. And it's such an easy thing to debunk, and it's the basis for all of the nonsense. And even Mifsud himself is like, yeah, I didn't tell. What they claim he told Papadopoulos to start all of this, he says he never told Papadopoulos. Now we have people who were working with Mifsud, possibly Peter Strzok and others, who are already under oath, so you have a million possible perjury traps. If you want to support my voice long-term, my Patreon is below. Check out my writing in the Federalist and the Jerusalem Post below. Subscribe right now to H.A. Goodman's other channel. People love it, and it's just me, uncensored, unfiltered. You'll love it. Thank you.